To act as if you get all you want is to enter the sacred chamber of creation where the unseen becomes seen. It is not merely a mental exercise or a hopeful wish, it is the bold declaration of one who understands that reality responds not to effort, but to assumption. The world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting what the soul whispers in silence. To act as if you already have it is to proclaim to the universe, "This is who I am," and to allow life to rearrange itself in perfect obedience to that inner declaration. What you hold in imagination with persistence and emotion becomes clothed in flesh. Imagination is not a fantasy or a childish escape, it is the womb of existence. The chair you sit on was once imagined. The clothes you wear, the house you live in, every structure you see, each was once invisible, yet known to the mind that dared to believe in its reality before the senses could confirm it. So why then do you wait for circumstances to align before you walk in the fullness of your desire? Do you not know that waiting delays the promise, but assuming fulfills it? When you walk as if your prayers are already answered, you cease to be a beggar and become a creator. You no longer plead with life to give you what you want. You command it gently through your belief. The one who acts as if they have already received speaks differently, thinks differently, carries themselves with the quiet confidence of fulfillment. They do not check the clock for signs. They know the seed is already planted and that the law of life demands its harvest. All transformation begins within. Do not concern yourself with how things will come to pass. That is not your role. Your only task is to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to act from the end, not toward it. Do you want abundance? Then feel the ease and gratitude of one who is already abundant. Do you seek love? Then walk in the warmth and peace of one who is already cherished. If you desire healing, then move with the vitality of one already restored. You must live in the end. See the world not as it is, but as it would be if your desire were already true. This inner conviction, this unwavering loyalty to the imagined state, becomes the force that draws it into form. Life does not argue, it does not debate, it simply reflects. Your inner conversations are more powerful than your outer efforts. If you rehearse lack, you will live it. But if you rehearse joy, fulfillment, and success, if you feel their texture, hear their sounds, and wear their emotions, they must become your reality. The law is impersonal, but it is just. It gives to every man according to his belief. The greatest illusion is that you must first earn the right to feel fulfilled, but truth says you must feel fulfilled to receive the right. You do not have to fight for what is yours in consciousness. The moment you claim it internally, life sets into motion all means necessary to deliver it externally. Opportunities align, people appear, circumstances adjust, not because you chase them, but because you have already welcomed them in the secret place of your mind. Every moment is a test. Will you react to what you see, or will you respond to what you believe? The world may tell you it's impossible, impractical, unrealistic. But what does your inner world say? The one who sees beyond appearances is the one who shapes them. Faith is not hoping that something might happen. It is knowing that it already has, and walking in that knowing with boldness, peace, and expectation. So rise each day and carry yourself as one whose desires are complete, not in arrogance, but in assurance, not in pretending, but in embodying. Let your smile be the smile of one who knows the outcome is certain. Let your steps be the steps of one whose dream is not approaching. It is here, now, within. And as you persist in that sacred inner attitude, you will see how the world, like clay, begins to mold itself around the shape of your belief. To understand the depth and power of assumption is to unlock the hidden architecture of life. Every visible structure, every encounter, every so-called coincidence that shapes the contours of your days begins not in the realm of matter, but in the realm of thought, and more precisely in the realm of belief. Assumption. The outer world is not the originator of your experience. It is the mirror. What you see and touch and interact with are simply reflections, echoes of what you have accepted as true in the invisible sanctuary of your mind. You are never reacting to reality as it is. You are always responding to a version of reality shaped by your assumptions, which have solidified into experience. When you assume that something is yours, when you take it not as a possibility, but as an unquestioned fact of your being, you enter a creative current that reshapes the world to accommodate your belief. This assumption is not merely wishing. It is not positive thinking. It is the act of stepping into a state with the full conviction that you belong there. It is the knowing, not the hoping, that what you desire is already yours in essence, and must therefore be yours in form. The one who understands this law of consciousness no longer waits for the world to give permission to feel fulfilled. Instead, they feel fulfilled, and the world responds in kind. You cannot outmaneuver your assumptions. You may toil and strive and exhaust yourself with action, but if deep within you carry the assumption that you are lacking, unworthy, or distant from your desire, your efforts will only multiply what you believe to be true. The law cannot be fooled by surface appearances. It reads the heart, not the gesture. It answers the mood, not the motion. When you assume lack, you reinforce it. When you assume wealth, love, success, or peace, you begin to breathe life into the invisible form that will soon become tangible. The challenge, of course, is that the senses scream contradiction. They tempt you to believe in what you see rather than what you know in spirit. But assumption is the art of spiritual vision. It is choosing to see with the eyes of faith rather than the eyes of flesh. It is daring to declare that something is real before there is any physical evidence to support it. And in that daring, you step into alignment with the deeper currents of the universe. Currents that do not move in reaction to the world, but in response to consciousness itself. There is a mysterious power in the human mind that waits silently for instruction. It does not argue, it does not doubt, it only accepts. And once it accepts, it sets every unseen force into motion to make the assumption flesh. If you feed it fear, it will multiply that fear into your world. If you feed it confidence, joy, love, and expectancy, it will reflect those states back to you with unerring accuracy. You are not at the mercy of conditions. You are the source of them. And the key to transformation lies not in waiting for evidence, but in boldly assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled until the evidence is compelled to appear. Think of a child playing pretend. With absolute sincerity, the child becomes a king, a hero, a star. And in that moment of play, the child is not lying. They are experiencing that state as real. Their joy is genuine. Their confidence is unshakable. Their world bends to their imagination. And though the game may end, the principle remains. What the child does effortlessly in play, the adult must learn to do deliberately in faith. To assume the identity of the one who already has the thing desired is to bypass the world of delay and resistance and step directly into creative dominion. This is why your dominant state of being is so vital. It is not what you want that shapes your life. It is what you assume to be true of yourself. If you want love but assume rejection, you will see the world through that lens. If you want success but assume failure, every door will seem closed. But if you shift your inner stance and begin to carry yourself as one who is already beloved, already empowered, already chosen, the world will rearrange itself to confirm that story. Life does not choose what to give you. You choose what to accept. And what you accept, you assume. And what you assume, you live. Even now, you are living in a field of assumptions. Some were inherited, some were formed through past wounds, some were whispered by the voices of fear. But you are not bound to any of them. You have the divine right and power to choose new assumptions, to imagine new truths, and to breathe them into life. This is not denial of the present, it is dominion over it. You do not ignore facts, you transcend them. You do not deny reality, you create a new one. And this act of assuming, this quiet inner shift, is the most powerful tool you possess. It is the sacred act of creation itself. When you assume, you are not forcing the world to comply. You are aligning with the deeper law that already governs it. The assumption is the cause, and the world is the effect. The belief is the seed, and the experience is the harvest. And just as the seed contains the blueprint of the tree, your assumption contains the pattern of your future. But the harvest only comes to those who water the seed. Not with doubt, not with fear, but with faith. Each time you return to the feeling of already having what you desire, you are watering the seed. Each time you refuse to be moved by appearances, you are guarding it from weeds. Each time you affirm, even in silence, that it is done, you are bringing it closer to bloom. And yet, many wait for signs before they believe. They watch for shifts, for confirmations, for evidence, but the law is reversed. It is belief that creates the signs, not signs that create belief. The moment you assume something is yours, truly and fully, the universe begins to echo that conviction in subtle ways. A conversation here, a door opening there, a sudden alignment that seemed impossible. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Not of hope, but of faith. Not of striving, but of assuming. To live from the end is to occupy a space that has not yet unfolded in the physical, but already exists in the spiritual. It is not simply thinking about the future, it is thinking from it. Most people live toward their goals, forever striving, endlessly reaching, caught in a perpetual state of becoming. But the secret lies in shifting from pursuit to possession. To live from the end is to stand mentally and emotionally at the finish line before you've taken a single visible step. It is to know with unwavering certainty that what you have imagined is not merely possible, it is already accomplished. There is a vast difference between hoping something will happen and assuming that it already has. Hope reaches, assumption dwells. One keeps the desire at a distance, the other brings it home. When you live toward something, you admit its absence. You may think of it fondly, pray for it, speak about it, but in your heart it remains something outside of you, something you hope to attain one day. But when you live from it, you no longer consider it separate. It is yours. It belongs to you in consciousness. And that is the only place it must first exist for it to appear in the world of form. The mind is a doorway through which all things must pass before they are born into time. To dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to pass through that doorway deliberately and plant your desire where it truly matters, within. The outer world, in all its movement and complexity, is nothing more than a shadow of inner states. You cannot cheat this law. You cannot force outcomes while believing you are undeserving. You cannot speak of prosperity while feeling impoverished. Life listens to the state you abide in, not the words you speak. To live from the end is to feel now what you would feel then. It is to adopt the emotional and mental posture of someone who already possesses the thing they desire. And in doing so, the boundary between the imagined and the actual begins to dissolve. You do not wait for the condition to give you permission to feel. You feel first, and the condition is drawn to you. This is not imagination for the sake of fantasy. This is imagination for the sake of alignment. You are aligning your inner world with the reality you have chosen, and this alignment is what brings it into view. The question is not, how do I get what I want? The question is, how would I feel if I already had it? How would I think, speak, walk, respond, and breathe if my desire was no longer a desire but a fact? And then, having identified that state, you begin to dwell in it, not occasionally, not when convenient, but consistently, as a matter of identity. You return to it in your thoughts, you wear it in your body, and you carry it in your silence. The world may offer no evidence at first. The senses may contradict you at every turn. But the law is not subject to delay or doubt. It only requires your inner conviction. When you live from the end, you break the illusion of time. Time becomes your servant, not your master. You are no longer waiting for life to change so you can feel different. You feel different now, and life must change in response. This is the reversal of cause and effect that mystics and prophets have spoken of for ages. You do not achieve your desires by effort alone. You receive them by identity. And your identity is nothing more than the state you inhabit in imagination. To live from the end is also to let go of the need to control how things unfold. You no longer worry about the steps, the details, the means. You trust that the state itself contains within it all necessary bridges. If you imagine the end vividly and dwell in it faithfully, life will orchestrate the path. People will show up, resources will align, circumstances will shift, often in ways you could never predict, but your task is not prediction, it is embodiment. You are to become now the version of yourself who already has what you desire. This requires a kind of spiritual discipline, a daily choosing of the unseen over the seen. You may be tempted to fall back into old patterns, to speak from lack, to act from fear, to doubt what you cannot touch. But each time you return to the end, you renew your power. You silence the noise of the world and listen instead to the truth within you. You do not need to explain your belief to anyone. You do not need to justify your certainty. The one who lives from the end walks quietly, confidently, and without apology. Living from the end also transforms your energy. You become magnetic, not desperate. People feel it. Life feels it. You begin to draw toward you the situations that match your inner state, and you repel those that no longer fit. This is not coincidence. It is law. You become a vibrational match to the thing you seek, not because you chased it, but because you became it. And in that becoming, you no longer need to ask if it's working. You know it is, because your being confirms it. You feel it in your bones, you taste it in your thoughts, you dream it awake. There is a holiness in this kind of certainty, not prideful, not boastful, but still and sacred. It is the kind of knowing that anchors you in storms, that holds your vision steady when the winds of circumstance howl around you. You are no longer swayed by what you see, because you see something higher. You have chosen to walk by faith, not by sight. Not because you are blind, but because you are clear. You understand that everything begins in the invisible, and to live from the end is to claim your place in that invisible realm until it becomes visible to all. When you live from the end, your words carry power because they are rooted in truth. Your actions are purposeful, not panicked. You are not trying to make things happen. You are allowing them to unfold. You become a participant in a divine unfolding, a co-creator with the unseen intelligence that governs all things. And in this sacred dance, you no longer fear delay, detour, or denial, because you know that once the end is assumed, the path becomes inevitable. So the invitation is clear. Stop chasing and start embodying. Stop waiting for signs and become the sign. Stop asking when it will come and live as if it already has. Not because you're pretending, but because you awaken to the truth that imagination is reality and assumption is the bridge that carries it into form. And once you cross that bridge within, you'll find the world reshaping itself to reflect the place you have already entered in spirit. Feeling is not merely a reaction to experience, it is the power that brings experience into being. To feel something deeply and consistently is to impress it upon the very fabric of your reality. When you understand that feeling is the creative force, you no longer chase outcomes through external effort alone. You return instead to the place where all things begin, your inner emotional state. The world around you is not built by action first, it is shaped by emotion. It is not logic that calls your future into form. It is the feeling that you allow to take root in your heart and radiate out through your being. Feeling is the substance of creation. It is the signal sent out from the core of who you are, and the universe, responding like a faithful servant, brings to you the experiences that match it exactly. If you want to know what you're truly manifesting, look not at your words, but at your dominant feeling. You may speak of wealth, but if your inner state is rooted in anxiety, fear, or inadequacy, then it is not wealth that you're drawing to yourself. It is more circumstances that confirm your inner unease. You may visualize love, repeat affirmations of connection and belonging. But if the underlying feeling is one of abandonment or unworthiness, then love will always seem just out of reach. The universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you feel to be true. Feeling is not a fleeting emotion. It is a sustained inner attitude, a deep, silent conviction, a subtle energy that colors your perception, influences your choices, and creates the atmosphere in which your life unfolds. This is why imagining the fulfillment of your desire is not enough. You must feel it. You must immerse yourself in the emotion of the wish fulfilled until it becomes natural, until it becomes your dwelling place. This is not pretending. This is creation. Pretending acknowledges the gap between what is and what is hoped for. Creation closes that gap by becoming one with the feeling of having. When you feel as if it is done, the creative law of life moves to confirm your feeling in visible form. This law is unwavering. It does not discriminate. It does not question. It reflects what is impressed upon it with perfect precision. Every emotion is a prayer. Every feeling is a command. And most people are unaware that they are constantly sending out signals, commands wrapped in emotion that shape their world. You cannot feel powerless and attract freedom. You cannot dwell in the emotion of defeat and expect to rise. But if you can cultivate the feeling of power, of certainty, of joy, even before you see any reason to, especially before you see any reason to fear, then you are becoming the architect of your future rather than a victim of your circumstances. It takes courage to feel joy in the midst of difficulty. It takes boldness to feel abundance when you're surrounded by lack. But that is where transformation begins. That is where the magic happens. Feeling is what gives your mental image its charge. Without feeling, your desire is hollow, like a seed with no life inside it. It may be clear, it may be detailed, but it will not grow. It is the feeling of the end that brings the image to life, that tells the universe, this is real, this is mine. And once that feeling becomes familiar, once it becomes more dominant than the old emotions tied to your current reality, your outer world begins to shift accordingly. You do not have to know how. You do not have to see the entire path. The feeling takes care of that. It draws the right people, opportunities, and moments to you like a magnet. It speaks the language the universe understands. To feel is to believe, on a deeper level than thought alone. It is belief that has reached the body, that has entered the bloodstream, that is lived and breathed and carried in silence. This kind of belief does not need to be announced. It is quiet but powerful. It is invisible but effective. You feel it before the world sees it, and eventually the world must bow to it. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the dominant feeling you hold within. This is not fantasy. This is law. The law of consciousness, the law of assumption, the law of feeling. It is one and the same. Whatever you consistently feel to be true becomes your life. You can test this right now. Think of a moment in your life when you were completely confident, completely safe, or completely loved. Go back there in your mind. Don't just see it. Feel it. Let the sensation of that moment wash over you again. Notice how your body shifts, how your breathing changes, how your energy softens or sharpens. That feeling is a doorway, and if you can bring that kind of feeling into a new imagined reality, if you can feel the confidence of success before success shows up, or feel the joy of love before love knocks on your door, then you are stepping into true creative power. Do not wait for the world to give you permission to feel good. That is the greatest trap of all. People live their entire lives waiting for the job, the relationship, the money to allow themselves to feel peace or joy or self-worth. But by then it is too late. The outer result cannot create the inner feeling. It is the inner feeling that must come first. And once it does, once you dare to feel what your current reality does not yet justify, then reality will bend itself to match your inner state. This is the secret that so few understand. Your feelings are the cause, not the effect. It is also why emotional discipline is one of the greatest spiritual practices. You are not asked to suppress your feelings. You are asked to become aware of them, to choose them deliberately, and to dwell in those that align with your desired reality. Not every feeling deserves your focus. Not every emotion should be indulged. There is power in learning to generate feelings on command, feelings of gratitude, of peace, of confidence, not because your world is perfect, but because you are choosing to live as if it already is. This is not denial, This is authority. You are taking your rightful place as the one who chooses how you feel and thereby what you create. The greatest illusion is that life is happening to you. The truth is that life is happening through you. And the instrument through which it flows is feeling. Not thought alone, not action alone, but the feeling that saturates both. When you align your thoughts and actions with a consistent emotional state of already having what you desire, the gap between dream and reality disappears. What was once a vision becomes a fact. What was once only felt becomes fully formed. And so, return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Nurture it, protect it, let it become your dwelling place. Let it color your speech, your walk, your choices, your posture, and as you do, you will discover what the ancient sages and modern mystics have always known, that the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not the result of creation. It is the act of creation itself. Persistence is the silent force that carries your desire across the threshold from the unseen to the seen. It is not loud. It is not frantic. It is not desperate. It is quiet, patient, and immovable. It does not concern itself with how long something takes or how impossible it appears. Persistence is the act of standing firmly in the inner conviction of a thing, regardless of how the outer world behaves. It is the refusal to waver in your assumption even when your senses provide no evidence, or worse, when they present the opposite. It is in these moments of contradiction that persistence proves its power. Because while the world may resist for a season, it cannot resist forever the one who remains loyal to their inner vision. Most people begin with faith. They visualize, they affirm, they feel the desired state with intensity. But when days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, and nothing seems to shift, doubt creeps in like a thief. They abandon the state. They begin to ask questions like, why hasn't it happened yet? Or is this really working? And in doing so, they return to the old state, the state of lack, of separation, of waiting, and reinforce the very condition they wish to leave behind. The world answers to persistence, not to brief excitement. It is the sustained inner assumption, carried with calm certainty, that bends reality into shape. To persist does not mean to struggle. It does not mean to strive harder or to constantly monitor your progress. Persistence is not the frantic checking of signs. It is the decision to remain emotionally anchored in the end, to remain mentally faithful to what you have claimed as true, to continue acting, thinking, and feeling from the place where your desire is already fulfilled. The one who persists does not chase results, they live in them. And because they live in them, those results are drawn to them with magnetic certainty. The appearance of delay is often misunderstood. Life is not denying your desire. It is arranging the conditions for its perfect emergence. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up every morning to check if it's growing. You water it. You trust the soil. You know the process is unfolding below the surface. And in time, without your interference, the sprout appears. So it is with your assumption. The moment you claim a thing in consciousness, the process begins. It may be invisible, it may be slow, it may seem still, but something is happening, always. And your persistence keeps the seed alive. It guards it from the weeds of doubt, fear, and impatience. Persistence does not mean you never have a negative thought or moment of uncertainty. It means that when those moments come, you return. You return to the end. You return to the feeling of fulfillment. You do not dwell in failure. You do not water your fear. You simply acknowledge the thought, release it, and realign with the state that you have chosen. This ability to return, to come back again and again to the truth of your desire, is what separates the manifester from the one. The one who manifests is not special. They are simply persistent. There will be times when everything around you contradicts your assumption. You may face rejection, setbacks, losses, or silence. These moments are not evidence of failure. They are opportunities to strengthen your inner stance. Will you let the appearance of delay undo your faith? Or will you deepen your conviction and stand taller in your knowing. The world is always testing the strength of your belief, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because what you assume with persistence becomes so real within you that nothing can shake it. And when you reach that place of unshakable knowing, the outer must yield. Persistence also refines you. It makes you aware of how often you return to the old state, how subtly the mind pulls you back into worry or analysis. And in that awareness, you become more deliberate. You begin to choose your thoughts instead of letting them choose you. You begin to notice your emotional habits, your inner conversations, your assumptions. And you train yourself to stay loyal to the state of the wish fulfilled. This is the real work. Not forcing the world to change, but mastering the inner state that calls the world into alignment. It may feel unnatural at first. It may feel like a lie, but that is only because you've been conditioned to react instead of create. You've been taught to wait for evidence before you believe. But now, you are reversing the order. You are believing before you see. You are assuming before it appears. And that reversal feels foreign only because it is unfamiliar, not because it is untrue. The more you persist, the more natural it becomes. And eventually, it is the old state, the state of doubt and delay, that begins to feel foreign to you. You must understand that your outer world is not independent. It does not have power of its own. It is a reflection, a projection, a canvas upon which your assumptions are painted. The mistake is in thinking that the world creates your state, when in truth your state creates the world. And if you change the state but do not persist in it, the world will only return to what it has always shown you. But if you persist, if you hold fast to the new state long enough, reality has no choice but to follow. It cannot resist the pull of a mind that will not let go of its vision. Persistence is an act of love. It is the love you show to your future self, the devotion you give to your dream, the loyalty you offer to the unseen. It is saying, I will not abandon you. I will not forsake this vision. I will not forget what I have claimed. And in that commitment, something divine begins to unfold. The world softens, resistance fades, and the things you once chased begin to find their way to you, not because you pursued them, but because you became the one who already had them. There is no force greater than the persistent assumption, not effort, not intelligence, not even timing. Because persistence reshapes all of those. It calls forth right action. It sharpens the mind. It aligns with divine timing. It weaves together the scattered threads of life into a tapestry that reflects your chosen state. And while others may be confused by your peace or question your confidence, you will know the truth. You have persisted in the end. And in doing so, you have become the end.